Oh, champ. Run up these likes, run up these likes, run up these likes. You are watching Big Gotham, the Mayor's second channel. Ladies and gentlemen, things have just gotten even crazier for Dame Dash and Cam's situation. It appears that Dame Dash is now suing Camron for $300 million in a defamation of character suit. It says Dame Dash is now suing Camron for $300 million for defamation of character. Dame Dash, aka Dusko Poppington on Instagram, says Camron made my wife and two sons uncomfortable. I would never do anything violent, and I don't want anyone that loves me to do anything violent, so this is the only way I can handle this. Interesting. He said, listen, violence is not the answer. So for that, $300 million lawsuit is. By the way, I think that $300 million in a defamation suit is also violence. You could say what you want. I think this is a violent act. $300 million? Listen, I don't know how much money Cam got. I'm not counting Camron's pockets. Alright? But boy, it doesn't look good. Now, apparently there's more details to this lawsuit that we're going to get into in a second. Alright? But boy, this is a wild turn of events. Like, this just came out of thin air. Alright? Now let me read this for you guys. Alright? It says, formal demand for $300 million in damages, defamation, tortious interference, business disparagement, harassment, conspiracy, and unjust enrichment. Dear Mr. Giles, this office represents Dame Dash, Roc-A-Fella, and the Dash Group. Please be advised that this letter constitutes a formal demand for immediate corrective action and compensation arising from your unlawful actions. Factual background. It says defamation of Dame Dash. You made repeated public statements, including on Instagram, falsely calling Mr. Dash a liar and undermining his credibility in connection with the bosses take losses and other business dealings. You admitted on video that the entire situation was a lineup, thereby conceding participation in reputational sabotage. You admitted these actions interfered with Mr. Dash's business negotiations, including with Roc-A-Fella and Jay-Z. Defamation and harassment of Roc-A-Fella. You published social media posts falsely stating that Damon Dash owns nothing and that all assets are in Miss Horn's name. You disparaged Miss Horn personally, causing humiliation, reputational harm, and emotional distress. Disparagement of the Dash Group. By publicly attacking Mr. Dash's ownership interests and credibility, you damaged the Dash Group's reputation and interfered with its ability to conduct business. This constitutes business disparagement and tortuous interference with prospective economic advantage. Attacks on family. You made false statements about the ownership of Mr. Dash and Miss Horn's residence. You made comments that forced Mr. Dash to involve his son Christian Dash, causing him discomfort. You attempted to pay Damon Dash $5,000 to appear on your show for the purpose of embarrassing his father, despite knowing the sensitive nature of their relationship. G5/Pink Mink cannabis deal Mr. Dash produced to you to Larry Smith for the purpose of pursuing a cannabis venture, including the proposed Pink Mink strain. You went behind his back and pursued the deal directly, cutting him out entirely. This constitutes misappropriation of business opportunities, bad faith, and unjust enrichment. So far, and I'm going to read the rest of this, it looks like Dame had this in the tuck. Like he was waiting for Cam to run his mouth just so he could sue him. I'm not going to lie. Is this a re-up plot from Dame Dash, knowing that he took a lot of losses as of late? Is this a re-up plot? Was he waiting for Camron to speak his mind and say what he had to say to Dame in order to sue him for defamation because he knows how Cam is and how petty Camron is? Listen, this looks pretty crazy, I'm not gonna lie. And if this is in fact, by a judge, if this is indeed fact, Cam might be in trouble. I'm not gonna lie. Even though I think this is some cornball behavior from Dame, I'm sure some people don't feel that way. But let's keep it going. Dipset Clothing Company, Mr. Dash co-founded the Dipset Clothing Company with the expectation of a 50-50 ownership structure. He funded production, created samples, and financed promotion and content. You excluded him from ownership and profits in breach of agreement in an unjust enrichment of yourself. Pattern of historic sabotage. Years ago, you prematurely announced confidential Roc-A-Fella business conversations that damaging Mr. Dash's relationship with Jay-Z and the Roc-A-Fella team. While the statute of limitations may bar a standalone claim, these acts demonstrate a long-standing pattern of malicious intent that continues to this day. Damages. As a direct and proximate result of your conduct, the plaintiffs have suffered reputational harm, emotional distress, and loss of business opportunities. Dame Dash. Emotional distress, reputational harm, Rockwell Horn, business disparagement, and financial interference, the Dash Group. Collectively, damages are estimated at $300 million. The demand. Accordingly, our clients hereby demand that you, within 14 days of receipt of this letter, cease and desist from making further false, defamatory, or disparaging statements regarding Damon Dash, Rockwell Horn, or the Dash Group, remove all defamatory posts, and issue a full public retraction and apology on Instagram, YouTube, and other platforms where the statements were made. Provide a full accounting of all revenues and profits derived from the Dipset Clothing Company and the G5/Pink Mink cannabis venture, and remit to Mr. Dash his rightful ownership interest. Compensate plaintiffs in the amount of $300 million. Preserve all evidence, including social media posts, videos, communications with Larry Smith, business records related to Dipset clothing and cannabis deals, texts, emails, and direct messages. This sounds like a lot. And that's that. This sounds like a lot. I ain't gonna lie, Dame. What in the world? I think Dame had this in the tuck. Now, Cam did say some things that I'm sure Dame didn't like. Alright? Listen, this is getting bad, man. Will Dame win in court with this? Because now he didn't put out a cease and desist immediately within 14 days of him receiving this letter. This is looking crazy, gang. All champ. So, do y'all agree with what Dame is doing? Do y'all think that this is, reasonable on Dame's part to do this? Or what are y'all thinking, man? If he is suing and, he could provide proof that, what he's saying is true. Apparently, what do y'all think? What is Camron gonna do in response is the question. What is Cam gonna do? How is this gonna work, man? Because this looks crazy. $300 million is wild. Again, I don't know how much money Cam got. I'm not counting Cam's pockets. Don't know. But $300 million is mighty steep. I'm gonna just say that. He says, I'm taking everything from you, Cam. I want everything, champ. All assets, champ. Give me everything. $300 million is insane. All right? But is this justifiable actions from Dame? Listen, I don't know. This looks rather crazy. He says he doesn't want to partake in violence whatsoever, doesn't, have any interest in doing so. So he says, listen, the only way that I can do this is, how about that $300 million defamation lawsuit, huh? How about that, champ? Yeah, take the $300 million lawsuit. That's just as violent to me. I'm not going to lie. $300 million in losses is violence. I think that that's just as violent as you using hands, feet, knees, elbows, toes, or your teeth as weapons. Okay? I'm just saying. All right? Listen. How do y'all feel about this, man? This is kind of wild, champ. Out of the thin blue sky. Apparently, Dame couldn't take anymore. I'm a believer that Dame had this in the tuck. I think he had this in the tuck. I think he was waiting for this moment I'm going to get my re-up. As soon as Cam gets to talking a little too crazy, we're going to hit him with a letter. All right? And a lawsuit. All right? We're going to hit him with a lawsuit, a defamation suit for talking down, making my kids and my girl feel uncomfortable, champ. $300 million in damages for the things that you said on Talking with Flea or Talk with Flea. Alright? And social media posts for that matter. You dig? Listen, gang. Y'all let me know how y'all feel up in that comment section. Make sure you smashing up on the like, share the video if you could. If you're brand new, make sure you sub as well. Gang, this is wild. We're gonna see where this saga goes, because this is just went into a whole different territory now, hasn't it, champs? Alright, but one more thing before we get all the way up out of here. Are you ready, gang? Check it out. It's the mayor. The one and only real New York Mayor, F. Eric Adams, and you're rocking with the town favorite show face news. It's Big Gotham. You already know it's the town versus everybody at all times. Hit that like, share the video. Make sure you leave a comment. I'm up out of here, gang. Salute.